This is Betstars and Stripes with Dr. Turf, Ed Wyatt and Alice Gander.
Welcome to Betstars and Stripes on 11:16 SEN. It is 4 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. The Sydney Sixers 7 for 68 and they have recovered. They were 6 for 24 at one stage. That is after 15 overs, so they are in big trouble. But we are going to talk all things US sport thanks to Betstar. When you bet with the Scanders Betstar, you're betting with a 100% Australian-owned and operated company who are committed to looking after their punters' needs. And we'll start off with Alice Gander. Nice to have you back after last week.
It's great to be back, Darren. Thank you very much. I had a week off, but we got the regular crew back, and I was having withdrawals from you guys. I missed you guys.
Of course, the key component of Betstars and Stripes is the great man, but we'll welcome Ed Wyatt also. Ed, nice to have you here, fresh from the baseball commitments.
Yes, doing the ABL All-Star game today, which actually was pretty good. Some real talent flying around. And it was one of the highlights of my broadcasting career. Got to call the game with Jim Cott, who is a 25-year baseball veteran. Only Tommy John and Nolan Ryan have had longer careers. So, amazing guy. 3 All-Star appearances, 16 gold gloves.
Spoke to Phil Dale from the Melbourne Aces, who said he actually went down there and had a chat to the boys and gave them a bit of inspiration before a game a few weeks ago.
He's a real interesting character. Great guy. And does a lot of work worked for ESPN, won an Emmy. I mean, he's a broadcaster of note. And for some reason, he came into the country and wanted to know where Ed Wyatt was and what game he was calling and could he do a game with Ed. So
fantastic.
There you go.
Fantastic. Also, from off the bench, past the post, you can catch him at 11:16 SEN's racing coverage and the like. Dr. Turf. Turfy, nice to have you here tonight.
Dash, lovely to be here. Al, that's you?
Yeah.
Hello, mate. Lovely to have you back.
I'm happy to play this game. We'll do a roll call every week from now on.
He's been doing a tour of the northern beaches of New South Wales.
The hands up present. Yeah. 7 for 70 now, the Sydney Sixers off 16 overs. But I was going to say we're going to clear a look at the playoff picture in the NFL, but we really don't.
We haven't.
Yeah.
We didn't learn a great deal last week, Ed.
No, well, I mean, I think we had the one worry was that some of those teams that had clinched spots might not be motivated or might do something that would I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but Houston, Atlanta, teams like that they
rest players, don't they?
They do rest players. I don't have a lot of them to rest, but they do. They might. The other thing you find, sounds kind of funny, but they often go into their shells a little bit offensively because they don't want other teams to scout them as much or see maybe they've put a new wrinkle in or something. So they don't get super creative. But I think it's fascinating, Al. We've talked about this all year. The 2 teams that we've all had questions about, and the odds makers have had questions about, Houston and Atlanta, both lose last week, both don't look very good, and I think those questions are still there.
Yeah, well, you were spot on, particularly with Houston last week. You actually sort of mentioned stage fright with Houston, given the fact it was Monday Night Football. You believe that?
It's a funny one for me because I think with Houston, I still see them as this expansion franchise that Gary Kubiak was possibly not going to be the coach a couple years ago, and Matt Schaub was he that good a quarterback? Maybe not. Obviously, Foster is a very good legitimate running back, and Andre Johnson is a very good legitimate receiver, a good defense, but I still just wonder if it's a cultural thing or whatever that's going to get them over that hump. When you look at Belichick, right, and you look at Peyton Manning, who was essentially running that Denver football team. John Fox, obviously the coach. And you look at some of those teams, even the Steelers, who may or may not make it, have a culture. I'm not sure the Texans have a culture yet, and I know that sounds silly maybe, but I do worry about that.
Stage fright's a very dangerous thing as well. If they can't handle Monday Night Football, which is clearly the biggest stage in their round-to-round tournament, the playoffs is a step up from that. And if you're not going to be able to handle Monday Night Football, then you're not going to handle playoffs. And It would be a shame to see them go out sort of in straight sets, if you like. They've gone out from $5.75 to $7 to win the Super Bowl. The favourite is now New England, and they've been $6 into $4.50, and they look like a head of steam, and they look like they got some momentum.
How many years in a row can they be at the top 4.
It's amazing. Well, I tell you what they've got. Obviously, it's not genius to think that. Tom Brady, best quarterback in the NFL. Bill Belichick, maybe the best coach. But beyond that, you have to do some other things, and they've done that really, really well. They've recruited, they've drafted pretty well, they've traded pretty well. They've got these older guys that they kind of sneak in there and believe in. These Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type guys that other people look at and they go, they're too short to play, and they build a nice little system around those guys. So they've really, really done a great job.
And they time their run brilliantly as well. I mean, so they're 10-3 this season, but if you look at the last 3 seasons, in the second half of the season, they're 19-0.
Right.
Which is an amazing stat. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's an incredible
it's good
stat.
to be in form early, but it's much more important to be in form late in a season, and they just managed to get that timing right.
That other nightmare team, what we talked about last week about the Jets, who've had a horrible season, but they're still
They're alive.
They're still
alive.
carrying on about winning the last 4 games and
getting
what are they,
into
6 and 7?
Well, they would
6 and 7, aren't they?
Yeah, they're 6 and 7.
200 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, but 6 and 7.
They
And
do
can
have
get
an
the
easy
wild
run
card.
home. They do have an easy run home.
They do have an easy run home.
Frightening.
They battled against look. They beat Jacksonville 17-10. But hey, look, you're right. It's a win. It's not ugly. The Cincinnati win over the Eagles in the Thursday night game Friday here yesterday. 2 days ago.
Philadelphia.
That made a big difference because that puts Cincy at 8-6 now, and then Pittsburgh. You'd think the Jets may not, win that tiebreaker even if they get in there. But look, it's given the Jets hope, and as much as we don't want to believe it, they do still have a chance.
Yeah, Philadelphia led in that game and then just committed some of the most horrible offensive errors you've ever seen.
Yeah, they're a struggling team and they're limping to the finish line without a doubt.
You touched on Denver a second ago, Ed. I mean, obviously they're looking like they're getting to some good form in the right end of the season. Can they do it? Can they go all the way?
I like what I see from Denver because I tell you what, obviously you got Peyton Manning. It's like Brady. You're starting there with one of the greats. They've got it. The offense is starting to click a little bit more. Demaryius Thomas and these sorts of receivers that now Peyton Manning is comfortable with. Little bit of a running game, not a great running game, but they've got a little bit of running game, and the defense plays very well too, and that's the thing. I think they lead the league in sacks. I may be wrong, don't quote me on that, but they've done very well defensively. So yes, I am a believer. They go to Baltimore, I believe, this week. Yeah, they're at the Ravens, and that's a game that'll tell us a little bit, I think, because the Ravens need a win. They've lost a couple in a row, and they sort of need to turn it around a little bit. So I think that'll be a really interesting game.
How old is Peyton?
Boy, that's a great question. We'll have to
Mid-30s,
get the researchers on that. I'd say
someone will text us in a moment now and let us know how old.
Yeah.
Missed an entire year?
Yeah, missed an entire year with the neck
So
situation.
it's a big comeback, isn't it?
36. He'll be
36.
37 in March.
Yeah,
So-
it is a big comeback, and I think the idea that he's come in with this other team that wasn't great. I mean, this is a team that Tebow lifted into the playoffs last year. He's really elevated the play of the team, and I think it's been remarkable.
But isn't that just NFL? I mean, you look at Washington and Indianapolis with their two kids.
True.
Number 1, number 2 draft picks, and they've elevated the 2 worst teams to, well, Skins in particular have had a terrific season.
Yeah, they have.
Indianapolis is going to struggle a little bit. Now, it's not going to be much protection this week now for their quarterback, so it might be a little bit tougher for them. RG3 copping a 1-week injury, is it?
He's not. The news came through today that they're going to start Kirk Cousins in his place. So they said it wasn't a major. It's not a ligament damage. It's more of I think it's a stretch or a bruise or something. So it's not one of those season enders.
It looked like a season ender.
You said I actually didn't see it up close. So
horrible.
was it ugly?
It just looked horrible. I mean, he flew back on his back. His leg was up in the air. He had all the momentum behind him, and someone just came and landed on his leg basically and hyperextended. I couldn't believe he was back out on the field.
He gutted that out, didn't he? And then Cousins came in. I tell you what, that answered a lot of questions when people said, why would you draft 2 quarterbacks in the same draft? You've got RG3. Why would you have the thing on Cousins? Well, they saw something in Cousins, and you saw a bit of it when he played at Michigan State. He's a cold, he's got the ice water in the veins when he's out there.
He threw beautifully as well.
He did. And then he runs in the 2-point conversion, which was incredible. Yeah. So I think they've done some good things there. fair. How often do we berate NFL teams for making bad picks and wasting picks? This one certainly wasn't wasted.
And as you said, just had that clutch going through his veins. Because I'm far from an elite sportsman, but I'd imagine sitting on the bench for 3/4 of a game, and then all of a sudden someone coming in cold and saying, "Okay, now you got to jump in because this guy's injured and do your best," and winning a game for him is no mean feat.
Yeah, it's being prepared, isn't it? The NFL or American football in particular is a strange one because you're not running around that much. You're sitting on the bench, you're standing there watching the game, and suddenly you're calling plays, you're throwing it. Yeah,
we thought it was a big week last week, but geez, there's some good games this week, which we'll get to in a few minutes.
It looks great, doesn't it?
I mean, I can't really see how the picture's going to be that much clearer after this week, Ed. I mean, there's still a lot of playoff spots open, given the fact that we're week 14 this week. There's a lot of playoff spots still open.
Some big results that did a few things last week. I think the Vikings beating the Bears really threw that into turmoil. I didn't see a lot of the game, I'll be honest with you.
The Vikings have been ordinary.
Did Cutler get injured?
I tell you what, they've been. No, I think Cutler's fine. I think he is. I'm not sure.
I thought he did something.
Did he do
maybe
something?
His neck or something like that. I thought there was some query. I think he's going to start this week, but there was some query on it.
Didn't see any of that game, to be honest with you. But that really threw the cat amongst the pigeons. The other one that's come on is the Seahawks, and then suddenly they're pushing for a wild card spot at the moment. And then Dallas. Dallas, believe it or not, as much as we hate to say it, they're back in the hunt, and so are the Redskins.
And Dallas, it's never convincing with Dallas.
No.
It's a struggle with them. Always a struggle with them.
I'll give you the Super Bowl market so we can get a feel for where the market sits with it. As I said earlier, New England are the favourites. They've been 6 into 4.50. Houston drifted on the back of their loss. Their convincing loss, $5.75 out to $7. Denver into $7.50. San Francisco $7.50. Green Bay 9 into $8.50. Atlanta $8 out to $10. The Giants $13. Seattle 31 into 19. Baltimore $21. Pittsburgh out to 23. Chicago, they've been 19 out to 31. Indianapolis into 41. Washington 41. Dallas $51. Then you go, the Bengals are 67, and then you've got $151 or greater.
Right.
Yeah, well, some of those prices are going to change this week. You've got
the
Packers and the Bears playing, the Steelers and the Cowboys playing. San Francisco and the Patriots playing. Gee whiz.
Yeah, it's funny because what you've got, Doc, as you look down the schedule, you've got some really good games because really good teams are playing each other. And then the flip side, some really bad teams playing each other, some really bad games. Jaguars, Dolphins.
Jacksonville playing this week.
They got the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Buccaneers, Saints will be interesting. Panthers, Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders. There you go for the seller in the AFC West. That's a game I can imagine many people will not have much interest in.
Am I reading this? Tampa Bay outsiders against New Orleans.
Yeah, in New Orleans, I think Tampa's season's kind of that was another one, Doc, that really affected the playoff run last week was that tight loss to the Eagles, 23-21, and that sort of effectively, I think, has probably ruined Tampa Bay's chances. I mean, I think they've overachieved a little bit. I'll be honest with you, with a new coach and all that. But at 6-7 now, I'm not. I think they're going to really battle to be in the playoff.
So we'll come back on the other side of the break and we'll go through all those markets. Shall we quickly touch on the NBA? Because that's sort of starting to take a little bit of an interesting shape as well. I mean, the Lakers, we've been talking about them the whole season because they've been a go-to topic in terms of coaching changes, in terms of players recruiting in the off-season, in terms of injuries to some of those key players, i.e. Nash. And now they're sitting there at 10 and 14 in 12th position in the West. And they're out to $8.50 to win the championship, and I actually can't see how they can possibly do it. I know, Ed, you've been saying it's early. Just wait.
I'll keep saying that.
You're still saying it?
Well, I tell you what, you're starting to hear some noise. You're starting to hear some things like Dwight Howard may not be a long-term guy in L.A., and you're starting to get some of that chat. They need to get Nash back. They need to get him back because obviously he's a key component. Look, they're struggling. They are struggling, Alan. I mean, I won't make I won't give up on a team before Christmas. I mean, you still got Christmas, you got January. This thing's not going to be decided till June. And as a Trailblazer fan, I've seen the Lakers for many, many years not look impressive at all. And suddenly come April and May, they're into the playoffs and bang, they're right back where they belong. So of all the teams.
That's when they had Kareem and those. You're talking back in the heyday of Portland. But
yeah, maybe not Kareem, maybe not going back that far. But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is certainly not they haven't proven anything yet, but I guess my point is, as someone who's seen the Lakers over the years and watched them closely, that's one team I would not write off.
Yep.
I would not write off the Lakers.
So is he the new coach under the same pressure as the one they sacked, Al?
Yeah, he is. Well,